Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Allie. Allie has a bomb drop of May 7th, 2024 and a date of marriage of 2000. Her MLCer is a vanisher and she doesn't know what energy type he is, probably because he's a vanisher. She says, my husband has been in no contact since bomb drop. We don't have kids, so I guess he has no reason to contact me. He avoids me like I'm a disease. We had an argument and he left because I wanted to talk it out. He sent me a goodbye email and that was it. He's now on social media, which he hated, and in his bio it says rebuilding. He also is using an old picture from like 7 years ago that I took on a date night. Oh, and he has a ring on it. This seems wacky. If he had another lady, I doubt she would be okay with that picture showing a ring. We notice things, even if he didn't realize when he posted it. Thoughts? Well, honestly, I have less thoughts on this than most because it is perplexing, isn't it? And there's not a lot of information. So the first things I want to ask you, and these are questions that I want you to think about. What is his attachment style? What is his anxiety like? In other words, and because he's ghosted you. And that's not the way it usually works, is it? We're seeing that, but what was his style of argumenting before this? Did he usually just shut you off? Did he stonewall? Was this how he handled things prior? You say bomb drop and then absolutely nothing. He avoids me like I'm a disease, but then we almost need to know that he's avoiding you like a disease. Like, ew, like that. And then I'm getting a reaction if it's that. So, or he just avoids you and you don't know what he's avoiding you like. You had an argument. He left because he wanted to talk it out. Has that happened before? And I don't mean has he left and, hasn't come back, because obviously he'd come back. But in an argument, has he just walked away and maybe for an hour, 2 hours, left for a day? This kind of thing. How does he handle arguments? Does he run away? Does he avoid? This is what I'm looking for. His patterns. Where is he with his emotions? Has he always seemed uncomfortable with emotions, unfamiliar, lacking insight with them? Does he understand how he feels or understand the feeling and emotions, how they are linked? In other words, when I am angry, I feel this, because feelings aren't the same as emotions. The feeling is how your body feels, the sensory feeling of the emotion. So does he know what it is? That's how we recognize what emotion we're feeling. And so he might not understand those. He may have stuffed those, been taught to, and he's really avoiding. And that's what I'm looking at to see what kind of patterns he had before this. Because this is obviously very sudden. And you haven't referenced any of his family. Say, now his family will talk to me. Nobody's telling me anything. They shut me out too. Maybe he doesn't have family. But none of that is even said here. Next, then you go on to the social media. He's on it, and in his bio, it says, and I'm assuming under whether he's married or single, it says that he is rebuilding, which is, of course, strange, since that would imply you, right? And we know you're not rebuilding. And he's wearing a ring. And of course, he might not have been aware of it, but is the ring prominent in this picture? Like, I'm going to make sure the ring is... Now, that is definitely trying to be prominent with that ring, right? Or is it just, like this? I'm not even thinking about the ring. Here, I'm making sure that's... And like you said, he might not have realized it when he posted, but women will. But so he hasn't removed his ring. I'm assuming if it's your ring that he wore with you, or is it another one? You didn't say that, so I don't know. It doesn't always seem wacky that they don't take off their ring, because you don't think about it. Wearing this, it's habit. And so has it always just been habit for him? Or it's nostalgia. I left and it hurts but I don't want to take it off. I can't talk to her. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. So I'm going to tell you a little bitty story. I think I told this in one video early, maybe a few years ago, and this was only a weekend where a split. They divorced many years later, but this is about the lady I am named for, Kenda. She and her husband, they were newlyweds, I believe, and had an argument. And they showed up at my parents' door. They were my parents, very good friends of my parents. Kenda knocks on the door. Oh no, wait, it was Wayne, her husband, knocks on the door. Kenda left. And they're like, okay, come on in. What happened? I left the toilet seat up. Okay. She got mad at me. Well, apparently Kenda got so mad because she had warned him, don't leave the toilet seat up, that she ripped it off and threw it. And maybe it had stuck at the wall or something. And then she left. Well, she was so embarrassed that she didn't return for a day or two. Now, that was due to embarrassment. That's what it was. I mean, she came back tail between her legs, apparently. And so she did come back. And I'm not saying he's going to come back or not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the feeling of the embarrassment. And that embarrassment, and you still have this. It means you still feel this. But you're like, I can't face it. There are some things for an avoidant. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how positive it is on the other side of the obstacle it takes to get through. They won't. I won't face it. What if facing it and getting through that challenge is really brief, but they don't know it's brief. Don't do it. It takes courage. And what do you have to do to get that person to do it? It's kind of like, just go to the doctor and find out that you are health free. You are cancer free, or you won't do it. All of these things. Go to whatever. Go tell your dad you're sorry, and he's going to say, you know what, I love you anyway. Or tell you about the sin, and they're going to say you're forgiven. It wasn't as hard as it was, and maybe it is hard, but they're not. They're so afraid and ashamed. And the longer he stays away, the more that he feels that way, because, well, when I stayed away for a day, but now it's been 2 days. Now it's been a week. It's been a month. I can't go back. It's been 2 years. That's full-on abandonment. I can't. Now it's been 5 years. What would you do? And so the longer it goes, the harder it is, because the more shame it is, because they haven't done it yet. See how it just compounds, even though there might not be anything more on top of it. And so, yeah, he avoids you like you're a disease. Really? Or is he avoiding his internal work like it's a disease? Because it is. And I think the key word in that is avoid. So those are the thoughts. There's not a lot I can tell you to do about them. I can tell you to reach out, and you may have already done that. You didn't say you did or didn't. But I would try that. Try reaching out. And do you remember what the argument was about first? Were you both right and both wrong on pieces of it? If so, do you have something you could say, you know what? I wanted to apologize. And I miss you. Is there something a door opening where you could do it that way? Or I just wanted to check in on you. I've been a little worried. Anything. And yeah, you're a disease right now in that sense, because he has to face the disease inside of himself, which is fear and avoidance and shame. And so it doesn't mean that he will respond in a way that you are able to detect. But that may be what you need to do, because it sounds like a lot of deep avoidance. And that means we don't have a lot of information. So all we can do is just make some guesses and assumptions. Okay? And in the meantime, What you have to do is you have to work on yourself. He's using picture of 7 years ago on a date night. He's got a ring on his hand. He says rebuilding. I'm hoping that means he's rebuilding himself, but he's avoiding some key pieces, isn't he? So what I want you to be doing is rebuilding yourself, because you do need to rebuild yourself. And he is avoiding key pieces because he doesn't need you to rebuild himself, in the sense of that we each have to be a whole person, but he's avoiding you and making amends and facing the shames that there were. So if something had happened to you and you had died, he could heal and move on. He doesn't need that, where he's a whole person. But we know that he's avoiding pieces of it because he has some threads that were left for you. And what is he going to do about those? To get that closure, at least. And maybe to get some reconciliation. To get some feelings that he is accepted. To get some grace. And he may not want to accept it. But if he hears a voicemail that just says, I've been thinking of you. Right now you don't want an explanation. Right now, instead of explanations, you just say, hey, it's me. I'm not calling for an explanation. I'm just calling to let you know that I've been thinking of you. And I miss you. And I hope you're doing okay. And I want you to know that I accept you. Or something to the fact, that idea of acceptance. That he's worthy. Because he probably doesn't feel it, even if he puts on a facade of that. Okay? I don't know what he'll do with it, and you may see it, you may never know. Okay, sometimes we have to put something out there, and we leave it. Okay? So, you keep working on yourself, keep your detachment going, and everything else you let go. You can send your good graces, send them with God. Okay? So I hope this is helpful.